Okay, real talk. You're an adult. You pay bills, maybe you have a career, maybe you've survived a breakup or two, maybe you've even assembled IKEA furniture without crying, mostly. And yet, the moment the lights go out, something shifts. You find yourself moving a little faster down the hallway. Your eyes start doing that weird thing where they try to adjust, but your brain decides that shadow in the corner is definitely something sinister. You tell yourself it's nothing. And then you look again anyway. Sound familiar? Because you're not alone. And you're not weird. You're actually just human. Deeply, fascinatingly, neuroscientifically human. Today we're diving into the psychology of adults who fear the dark. Not the fear that has a clinical name and needs professional treatment, though we'll touch on that, but that quiet, almost embarrassing brand of unease that a surprising number of adults carry into their bedrooms every single night. The kind of fear that doesn't care how rational you are. The kind that shows up even when you know there's nothing in the room. So why does it happen? And what does it actually tell us about our brains? Let's start at the beginning. And I mean the very beginning. Human beings evolved in a world where darkness was genuinely dangerous. When the sun went down, our ancestors couldn't see predators coming. They couldn't identify a safe path. They couldn't read the environment for threats. And so, the ones who treated darkness with caution, the ones whose nervous systems fired up with alertness when night fell, were the ones who survived. They had children. Those children inherited those nervous systems. And here we are, tens of thousands of years later, standing in our own kitchens at 2 a.m., turning the light on before we even step in. This is called an evolutionary adaptation. And here's the key thing that most people miss. The fact that you feel a flicker of fear in the dark isn't a malfunction. It's a feature. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just doing it in a context where a saber-toothed cat is considerably less likely to be hiding behind the couch. But evolution only tells half the story. Because here's where it gets interesting. Fear of the dark isn't really fear of the dark. It's fear of what might be in the dark. This is a crucial distinction. Researchers who study this, and there's actually a decent body of literature on it, have found that what people fear when they fear darkness is the unknown. The uncontrollable. The unseen. Darkness is really just a container for uncertainty, and the human brain has an ancient, deeply wired aversion to uncertainty. Think about it this way. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly running models of the world, trying to anticipate what comes next so it can keep you safe and efficient. In daylight, it has data. It sees the room. It categorizes the chair, the lamp, the cat, the mildly threatening pile of laundry in the corner. Everything is accounted for, categorized, filed away. Threat level, low. Carry on. Now the lights go out. Suddenly your brain's primary input, vision, is dramatically reduced. And your brain doesn't just go quiet. It fills in the gaps. This is called predictive processing, and your brain does it constantly, but it becomes especially vivid in the dark because there's less real-world data competing with its guesses. Without visual information to anchor it, your mind starts generating possibilities. And because the default setting for uncertainty, from an evolutionary standpoint, is danger, those possibilities tend to skew dark. Pun fully intended. This is why your imagination goes places in the dark that it simply won't go in the light. It's not weakness. It's your brain's threat detection system running on overdrive in a data-poor environment. It would rather generate 10 false alarms than miss one real threat. Now layer on top of that everything you've absorbed over a lifetime about the dark. Think about how we introduce children to darkness. Horror movies, ghost stories, fairy tales where the woods get dangerous after nightfall. Culturally, across almost every civilization on Earth, darkness is coded as the domain of danger, death, and the supernatural. We don't just inherit this fear biologically, we're marinated in it narratively from the time we can understand stories. And those cultural messages get filed into the brain alongside the evolutionary ones, reinforcing each other. There's actually research showing that adults who report fear of the dark tend to have stronger imagery, more vivid mental pictures, when the lights go out. Their brains aren't just generating abstract threat signals, they're generating movies. High-definition, emotionally loaded movies. And the scarier the movies you've absorbed, whether that's from childhood horror or that one documentary about true crime you probably shouldn't have watched at midnight, the better your brain gets at producing them on demand the second the room goes dark. But here's where I want you to really sit with something, because this is the part that often surprises people. Fear of the dark in adults is frequently tied to something much deeper than monsters or intruders. Psychologists who work with this find that the dark, for many people, becomes a space where the mind's background noise, the anxiety that gets drowned out during the busy, stimulating day, suddenly becomes audible. The dark is quiet. And in that quiet, the fears you've been outrunning all day catch up. Relationship worries. Financial stress. The sense that something is wrong even when you can't name it. For these people, darkness isn't just the absence of light. It's the absence of distraction. And their nervous system has learned to associate that quiet, uncontrolled space with emotional danger, not just physical danger. The fear of the dark becomes a kind of portal into deeper, less comfortable emotional territory. This is why some people sleep with the TV on or leave a light burning. It's not always about seeing the room clearly. It's about not being alone with their own thoughts. And you know what? That deserves compassion. Not judgment, not laughter, not the rolled eyes of a partner who doesn't understand. Compassion. Because what that really tells us is that this person's nervous system is vigilant. Sensitive. Tuned in. Those are the same qualities, by the way, that make people deeply empathetic, highly creative, and remarkably good at reading situations and other people. The sensitivity that makes the dark feel threatening is the same sensitivity that makes you exceptional in other areas of life. It's a dial, not a defect. Now, when does this cross a line? When the fear is so intense it disrupts sleep significantly, causes panic attacks, or prevents someone from functioning normally, that's nyctophobia, and it's real, and it's treatable, and therapy, especially exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral approaches, works remarkably well for it. If that's you, the science is firmly in your corner, and reaching out to a professional is genuinely worth it. But for most adults who carry this quiet, slightly sheepish unease about the dark, what helps is understanding it, because fear loses some of its power the moment you can see its machinery. When you know that your brain is a prediction engine running worst-case scenarios in a data-poor environment, you can start to work with it instead of against it. You can acknowledge the signal, yep, threat detection firing, noted, and gently redirect your attention without shaming yourself for having it in the first place. Some people find it helpful to keep a small, warm lamp rather than going cold turkey into total darkness. Some people find that grounding techniques, focusing on the physical sensation of the mattress, the sound of their own breathing, give the brain enough real-world data to quiet the imagination. Some people find that naming the fear out loud, and some people find that just knowing that this is ancient, evolutionary, human, and shared by a quietly significant portion of the adults they walk past every day, is enough to make the dark feel a little less lonely. So next time you find yourself moving a little faster past that unlit hallway, or reaching for the light switch before you've consciously decided to, I want you to remember something. That reflex is old. It's older than language, older than civilization, older than every horror movie ever made. It's the part of you that kept your ancestors alive long enough for you to exist. It's not your weakness. It's your inheritance. The dark hasn't changed, but now, at least, you know what's really in it. If this made you think about your own relationship with fear differently, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Seriously, people's stories about this are always more interesting than you'd expect. And if you're the kind of person who finds this stuff fascinating, there's a lot more where this came from. Stick around. We're just getting started.